Thank you, Emma. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Cabinet meeting today, the 7th of July. The first item is apologies for absence, and we have apologies from Councillor Fredericks. The second item is the minutes of the meeting held the 2nd of June. Were there any queries or questions on the minutes, please? If not, we're proposing that they're accepted, seconded by Councillor Toy, and all of those in favour, please. Yeah, that's unanimous. Thank you. We have no questions or public statements. That's item 3 and item 4. We have no items of urgent business. Item 5, were there any declarations of interest, please? Okay, for myself, in respect of item 12, I do know the tenant, although many others do. I should say, though, I do not know them socially, but for clarity, but just wanted to declare that. Item 6 is member questions. Are there any questions at this point in time? No? Okay. Item 7 is recommendations from the Scrutiny Committee. I don't know of any recommendations. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you. Okay, item 8 is the outturn report. Councillor Shires, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Before we look at the results of our year end, I just want to begin by highlighting a significant improvement that we made to our financial management and monitoring last year. We did change the way that we monitored our budget, and instead of relying on a snapshot of the moment in time, we moved on to a model where we projected the year-end position every time we monitored performance. And this proactive approach gave us a much clearer visibility, early warnings, and better control over outcomes, and it has allowed us to act decisively when it mattered and not after the fact. And I believe this change is key reason why we are able to report such a strong financial position today. When we first began budget monitoring last year, our period 4 forecasted a large deficit, and through a combination of sound financial planning, cost control and the relentless efforts of staff across the council, we've closed the year with a general fund surplus of just over £600,000. And that represents a really positive swing in year, and that's something that everyone involved should be proud of. And that includes those who helped me monitor the budget, who sit on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So my thanks go out to them. There are some standout figures where we have the underspend on employee-related costs, primarily through vacancy management and turnover, the tight controls of supplies and services, which led to an underspend. All these can be seen in the paragraphs following paragraph 3. And we also generated just over £2 million in additional income. So that was strong performance in planning, parking and housing related grants. And that's something that all the teams should be incredibly proud of. All of this we've achieved without significant compromise of core service delivery. But behind all these numbers, there are real people doing a lot of work. And I just want to pay a lot of thanks to the staff of this organisation. And despite recruitment challenges, teams across the council have continued to deliver services, maintaining standards and adapting to changing demands. And this outcome really reflects not only financial discipline, but also the professionalism and resilience of our staff. So a huge thank you to all of those. We had originally budgeted to draw just over £4 million from reserves, but thanks to the in-year surplus, we've significantly reduced that, and we require just only over £2 million. And as a result, we are retaining about £24 million in earmarked reserves and showing we're well equipped to manage future pressures, which is huge, because whilst we have had pressures in the last financial year and in this financial year when we've set the budget, it's looking to be even greater when we sit into the next financial year. And early indications are not looking overly positive, but we will report more on that when we've got better detail. We've continued to invest in our communities, and we've delivered a lot in our capital projects, including investment in coastal protection, solar panel installations at Victory, public conveniences and supporting affordable housing. We are carrying over some capital slippage into next year, and that is detailed within the report, which is something that I would like to just mention when we look at the bin underspend, which is on page 23. I've spoken with my cabinet colleague, and where we have the underspend on the purchase of bins, that just over 28,000, I'd like to put in a reserve to help us with the food waste caddies, because we know that that's going to come at a greater cost. But I'll let my colleagues speak to that further on. But the biggest thing that I do want to stress overall is that the next financial year, the next budget that we're going to set is going to be more challenging than the ones that we've set before. The early indications from government do not look positive. I've been working closely with Dan, who is keeping me in the loop at every twist and turn. But that aside, this report shows that the choices that we've made were effective, and we have maintained our service delivery, reduced our reliance on reserves in year, and preserved our ability to invest. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. So obviously, positive position so far this year in terms of the parking revenue, which we certainly saw emerging as early as April as well. And obviously, somewhat weather dependent, some of that, isn't it? But it's a good indication of how as well we are interacting with the tourist economy and how the role that we play within it, but planning income as well shows really that the service is sustaining itself, and some of these larger applications coming forward without getting into the details of that. Obviously, it does result in a greater revenue, but certainly some big uncertainties, as Councillor Shiser said, around what actions the government will take over rural, coastal authority areas, and certainly there's been some discomfort about the government's focus on rural areas thus far. I did just want to highlight the additional grants secured for the learning centre at Holt Country Park as well, which is a really fantastic result, and is also detailed on this item. So another diversification of the offer at Holt Country Park, contributing towards its status, and continues to be certainly a jewel in the crown in terms of the country park. So very much welcomed. Were there any questions on this item? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dixon, go ahead.
One observation and one question, really. The observation is that I note the paucity of capital spend and capital projects east of North Walsham. That is one notable observation that I have. The question I have relates to paragraph 5.8, which is on page 26. One item there is the repaid Egmere bond. I wonder if someone can just explain what that is.
Good morning, members. So at the point that the authority was proposing to take forward a capital project to service some employment land at Fakenham, at Egmere, sorry, we were required to pay the county council a bond for related highway enabling works. As the project has not been delivered by this authority, that bond has been repaid to us. I think the original payment was £6,000, and we've now received £6,800 back with interest, and that's a standard arrangement that the Norfolk County Council employs in such circumstances. So it's a refund to us basically for a bond that was paid.
Thank you. A modest return on the Egmere project.
Yes, well, we're not archaeologists today, but certainly it caught my eye to see that come here as well, Councillor Dixon. I think I asked the same question when when that appeared. Okay, so can I presume the recommendations are proposed? Just to check, anyone else want to say anything before we progress? I will second the recommendations outlined in the report. And can I take a vote of those all in favour, please? Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 9 is the Treasury Management outturn report for 24-25. Councillor Shiers.
Thank you. This will be the third report that we've had on Treasury for the last financial year. I believe it's been to GRAC already. The information's in the report and I'm happy to take any further questions.
Yeah, thank you. And a very well presented document, I think, and a good bit of work here by officers. So thank you for that. Were there any questions on this item? No. Okay. Were there recommendations proposed? Yeah, proposed by Councillor Shiers and seconded by myself. Vote for those in favour, please. Fantastic, thank you. Item 10 is in respect of debt recovery, and Councillor Shiers again.
Thank you very much. Just bear with me 1 second so I can get my report up. I really want to thank Officer Knight for the work that he does, specifically with briefing me adequately. He does a phenomenal amount of work on this, and his whole team does throughout the year. So for the 24-25 budget year, council tax write-offs were slightly higher than previous by 13,000. The business rates were higher than previous too. The main reasons for write-offs were for council tax, where the debtor is absconded, bankruptcy, liquidation, or sadly where a debtor is deceased. Non-domestic business rates, it's similar, but where a debtor has gone into bankruptcy or liquidation or has absconded. In the year 24-25, our council tax target was 98.2% collection. We reached 98.37%. So the team are working hard behind the scenes. And for business rates, the target was 99.2% and we've reached 99.45%. So we're on about the same for council tax collections we were for the previous year, but for business rates, we are slightly higher. And Sean was delighted to let me know that our business rates collection appears to be the highest for 18 years and potentially ever. So all credit to the team. The only other point would be about our outstanding arrears and our total council tax arrears as of the 31st of March were 4.19 million, which is slightly lower than the year before. The total council tax in-year arrears were 1.5 million as of the 31st of March, which is slightly higher than the previous year. And the percentage of current arrears compared to the net debit on the 31st was been reduced by 1.52. In terms of business rates, the total of all years business rates arrears is 253,000 as of the 31st of March. The in-year arrears are 115, which is lower than the previous year, and the reduction of that percentage is 0.44 overall. The picture is looking quite positive. I'm aware that we have other areas within the council that are supporting residents who are facing financial difficulty. So I wish to say, if there are any residents watching, that we have teams here who are happy to help if you're facing financial uncertainty when it comes to paying your council tax bills. I know that I've recommended many residents who've had a really positive experience and are very happy that they took the first step rather than ignoring the issues. And finally, I just want to let everybody know, if you're not aware already, that the team won an award from the Empty Homes Network, which highly commended us for best use of media linking to our long-term empty homes work. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I was approached by a provider at the LGA conference last week, who was promoting products in respect of the revenue area generally. And they had access to all of the council's data on revenues and collections, and they were quite adamant there was nothing that they could do for us because we're already head and shoulders above what is commonly the position. So that was indirect praise to the team again, really, and I think every member of the team does a fantastic job there. So very nice thing to hear about the authority externally. So yeah, welcome as well the report. Were there any questions on this item at all? No, if not, I will propose the recommendations be accepted, seconded by Councillor Shires. Oh, yeah, I got there first. Was there a question? Sorry. No. Okay, can I take a vote? All those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Okay, item 11 is the housing benefit debt recovery report for April 24 to March 25. And I'm presenting this in the absence of Wendy Fredericks, Councillor Wendy Fredericks, and obviously the culmination of another year's hard work by many members of staff. And as you'll see, we're continuing to write off debts in line with the methodology that's already been implemented, and looking at additional recovery options as well. And you should be able to, we should note the impacts of potential changes benefits nationally, but certainly you can see the changes there over time with the introduction of universal credit and how that affects this area of work. But I think the report demonstrates that good processes, procedures are in place, and certainly in accordance with our our corporate plan objectives. And with that in mind, I'm happy to propose that the recommendations taken as read. Were there any questions on the item, please? No. Okay. So, no. If not, well, I've proposed that the recommendations be accepted. Can I have those seconded, please, Councillor Toy? And all of those in favour? Fantastic. That's unanimous. Item 12 is the Rocket House Cafe restaurant lease renewal. Councillor Shires again.
Thank you. Just want to remind members that there are purple papers here, so if anybody wishes to delve into those, then we'll need to close the meeting to the public. So please indicate if that's where you would like to head. All the information is set out in the report, but I would like to propose option 1, where we agree a new lease and rent increase with the existing tenant.
Okay, so certainly some of the media reporting last week did raise some anxiety over the narrative in terms of sale, but of course we must consider such options as part of an options appraisal, and this is certainly normal. Obviously, we have to do that. We're not, a private individual acting as a landlord or a business. We've got to go through those processes. And as Councillor Shives has just said, we don't believe that to be the best option. Certainly not advantageous at all. And in fact, this I think will result in a more advantageous position for the council and the tenant with their knowledge of tenure. But certainly for ourselves, rent and service charges being aligned again to the current market. The business obviously has a very good reputation and is a draw in its own right. It's been certainly a valued employer in the locality for some years now, and I think would be hard to replicate given the current pressures on the hospitality industry. So before we deal with the recommendations, can I ask, is there any indications, anyone who wishes to speak or ask questions? Okay, the whole back row. Okay, so who's going first? Do you want to flip a coin or two? Councillor Dixon first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure whether one or more of my questions might take us into Part 2 territory. Perhaps I could mention a word that might give you a clue, and that is subsidy. And also perhaps mention of sums which are quoted in the confidential part. So over to you, Mr. Chairman, and the Honourable Officer.
We can I ask them perhaps we deal with any other questions that wouldn't relate to purple papers? So we obviously deal with a little bit of the business in public before we go into private session and then come back. Are there any questions that you're confident don't fall into that territory? Yourself? Okay, I'll take Angie first and then Councillor Holding. I think, Nigel, you might need to switch off your microphone.
Oh.
Give it another go. It's sometimes.
It's me.
It obviously doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's me. I was trying to think what I was going to say. Actually, it's about the building in general, Mr. Chairman. We have experienced, as you well know, in the last few months, a period of near drought. Can you tell me, or can somebody advise, please, whether there is still damp in the building as a whole?
We're obviously not here to discuss that side of things, but all I can say is there is ongoing damp monitoring, and of course, to a certain extent, it was hampered by that long-term dry spell. So that has obviously adjusted the schedule. I should say that this space was not affected by that damp. However, it is subject to some ongoing monitoring, and that will be reflected in some upcoming work. So it's, yeah, if possible, we can avoid getting into the issues downstairs because it's obviously not the item on the agenda today. But I understand the point of the question.
With respect, Mr. Chairman, what happens downstairs is obviously going to have some effect on the upstairs eventually.
I don't think it's the place to be discussing the technical details in respect to that. We're obviously increasingly confident of the position, but we need to be assured of that and to reassure external partners, etc., that that's the case. But that's a matter of ongoing work. There's really no cause for any alarm, I would say, on that front at the moment. And when we're in a position to update in respect of the tenancy for the ground floor, we will do so. So that will be an upcoming item in future.
It does limit your decisions today. For example, you have at the moment an unsaleable building.
I think we're exaggerating things quite a lot, I'm afraid. That's not really in accordance with the reality of what we're dealing with on the ground floor. Okay, so Councillor Holiday.
Thank you, Chair. It's a general question, might lead us into private business. Is there a business case that underpins this?
Okay, that's not something I have a knowledge of. We obviously agreed tenancies. We don't tend to have a business plan as such when we do so. These are obviously commercial buildings. This one funded by external grant around 2003. So we're not talking about an investment into this space as such, in respect of the cafe restaurant. They've obviously been a long-standing tenant. And this is, broadly speaking, just a renewal of the lease and the service charges so that they are more in line. So that those arrangements were obviously coming to an end and they needed to be renewed. So that's probably about, you indicate you want to speak. Go ahead.
I think we're talking at cross purposes here. Yes, there's a building. Yes, there's some work outstanding in respect of the ground floor. The matter that's in front of you today, which I feel you might need to move into part two, given the nature of the questions that you're asking, is in relation to a lease for the upper floor of the building, which Mrs. Garfor is present for, but I understand is let on under the Landlord and Tenant Act, and therefore the tenant has the right of renewal, subject to agreeing a revised rent, and that's the matter that's before you for your consideration today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm assuming. Thank you for the clarity. Okay then, so can we can I propose then that we move into private session, close the stream, and we will come back online after we have dealt with the questions and the exempt papers. Is there anything specific I need to say here, or can I just propose that we do that? Yeah, sorry, and I don't have that in front of me. Brilliant. Okay. Okay, so obviously we're talking here about, well, not obviously, I shouldn't have said that, but we are talking about discussion that might result in the disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, part 1, schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. And on the basis of that, I propose we do move into closed session as per 100A4 of the Local Government Act. Can I propose that seconded by Councillor Brown, please, and all those in favour? Okay, we close the stream. Thank you. We're on. Okay, sorry, I was just checking we were online. Thank you ever so much. Yeah, we've just had a discussion in respect of the discussions with the tenant, which obviously we couldn't discuss in public session. And I think that's enabled us to have some clarity as members on the greater details. So returning to the discussion, here we obviously have the three recommendations set out on the paper in respect to the Rocket House, and option 1 has been proposed by Councillor Shires, and that's presumably seconded by Councillor Toy. And can I have a vote of all of those in favour, please? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so there's no reason to exclude press and public again, and there's no further private business. So that is the end of the